Hey guys, it's Matthew here once again with the build that I just then played. I've already put down, but it's been a few days that I did play it, and I do want to go over the entire experience for it, and that is the Bouncing Poisonous Concoction. It's the transfigured version of Poisonous Concoction that's new this league, and it bounces. That's its particularly special property and cool thing that it does, and I'm actually a pretty big fan of it. Like, I did not really think too much of it, and I know that people already played it and had good success with it, so I kind of avoided it for a bit. So to tackle it, I had to do something kind of hipster, and instead of going poison with it, I went crit hit base. So no poison whatsoever, just tried to scale a bunch of initial damage, hit damage, and then scale it as crit using a Scion and getting some extra proj, getting some extra damage through Crown of Eyes and Elegant Hubris, and then also Perseverance, so I'm scaling a lot of armor and evasion. The character is pretty thick for what it is, and yep, just trying to be crit hit based. And I did really like the skill in the end. The bouncing is particularly fun, and it feels like it's got a lot of potential for various ways of building. So I want to get into trying it as a cast on crit in the future as well, and obviously if it wasn't super meta the way it was built, then a poison version would be pretty damn fun too. I have heard very good things from the poison version of this skill, and ultimately after trying what I just then tried here and what I'm showing you, it's much better as poison. Like, I did this crit hit based version and it worked, and it took me through the game and all the way up to, you know, guardians and regular bosses and stuff, and it worked well enough, but it was not worth doing, like, by any means. This is just another I did it so you don't have to style of character, because there just isn't enough real scaling here. At least the way I tried to build it, there isn't enough scaling to take it all the way. Like, I got through the tier 16s and stuff, but the DPS was nothing too crazy, anywhere from like 2 to 5 million depending on overlaps, because it does bounce multiple times. It can overlap on a single target. Like, the bounces aren't completely random. They do go towards enemies, and they do stick on a certain enemy if you're going on just one single target sort of thing. It can actually overlap quite a lot and then give you more single target damage. And it still doesn't, this one didn't really hit the mark for damage, because like I said, anywhere from about 2 to 5 million damage with a bunch of thickness behind it, but that's just not really enough, especially because a lot of your damage is going to come from flasks. When you throw this skill, it does consume life flasks, so that's why we have 2 life flasks, and even with a bunch of flask regen through the passive tree and the Pathfinder Ascendancy, you will still sometimes be running out of flasks, and if you're spamming against a single target, and that means you are lower on damage than you otherwise might be, according to Path of Building. So it is a bit tough to, sustain flasks and to justify this type of situation for endgame DPS. I've heard that poison versions can absolutely hit like dot cap with real good setups, the usual Ralakesh and Maven Belt, that sort of thing, and that would be really strong and damn fun. I still want to try it as a cast on crit trigger as well, because I think this type of overlap with some extra proj and bounces could actually be a real nice cast on crit trigger, instead of the usual Cyclone or Lancing Steel, that sort of thing. So I think there's some potential there, but other than that, it seems like a pretty much cut and dry poison situation. And this is just an example of a character that I tried to build that kind of works, but really isn't all that for what I was hoping it would do. So it is a thick character, at least. Like, it's got 40k armor and evasion, it's got Molten Shell, it's capped on suppressed, it's got 50% block, it has Slayer Overleach with Val Pact, so I regen real quick. I can take a lot of damage, and it was just another way of building to avoid going CI and Aegis Aurora like I did on my previous build, the Frostblades thing. I contemplated doing it again on this one, but took it in a different direction. Maybe if I did the CI angle on this build, it would have been better. Who knows? But like, conventional defense still just doesn't feel that good at the moment. You can see against some stuff it is particularly good, but the conventional defense of just armor evasion doesn't feel that crazy. Like, I put a decent amount into having some defense here, and then using my defense as offense with perseverance. And at the end of the day, there's just too many things that bypass that and still kill you. And the much better forms of defense are the newer forms, the damage taken as the Progenesis, the Defiance of Destiny, the Lightning Coil, stuff like that. And this just ends up being a bit not enough. So that felt kind of bad, given that I put a bunch of work into the defense and didn't get enough out of it. So I did try a couple of 17s in the end. They were just 2 abominations, so this map here, and it could clear all right, but on the other abomination that I tried had particularly bad mob type that would still kill me, even though I'm supposed to be kind of thick. That thing would just annihilate me with some ball lightnings, I think it was. So we could clear kind of alright, but yeah, it wasn't great because things are pretty thick. So yep, didn't feel particularly good about that with the 17 situation, and a lot of the map mods just completely cuck me the way I've tried to build, with armor, evasion, block, leech, all that sort of shit. And then my damage not being overkill means that 17s, especially some of the map mods, could make it very uncomfortable. So then I ended up just dying to this boss fight a few times, because without huge amounts of damage, you have to do a lot of this boss fight, and then ultimately having crit on the map meant that I'd just get one shot some of the time. But then one of the really dumb things is the drowning orbs with temp chains on the map, and then doing this boss fight where you'd end up getting like the stronger version of temp chains from the or the slow from the totems that have huge amounts of health. Once the drowning orb catches you, it's a perma freeze and you can't move, and there's nothing you can do about it. Ain't that just fucking terrific? So yeah, I got like drowning orb just spawned right there in front of me, perma froze, nothing I can do about it. Sick outplay. So yeah, that's just, I don't know, some more tier 17s versus some hipster build bullshit is what it is. Like I said though, the character wasn't particularly worth building the way I built it. It was a bit of an experiment. I do love the skill though, and all that said, let me go ahead and show you just what I did to make the character. So the character is level 94 Scion, can't clear a 17 Sag. Kind of had a feeling that being this hipster wasn't going to be allowed for tier 17, so that was the name of the character. Turns out fairly correct. So there's the skill, Bouncy Poisonous Conc. I think it's pretty damn fun and worth a go if you just want to play a poisonous version. Hopefully I give it another shot and do a cast on crit version and see how that goes as well. But for now, yep, the hit base, kind of whatever. I tried to make it kind of as good as possible with a good amount of damage while still having some good defense. Maybe I could have gone more on damage. Maybe I could have built it a different way for bigger damage, but we did have a +2 AoE, +2 Proj Cherubim, and then, extra leech and armor evasion and stuff. I tried to make good use of perseverance with the increased attack per 200 of lowest armor evasion, which in the end wasn't massive, like, 40k when I'm buffed up. Of armor evasion isn't anything crazy for perseverance. You can definitely do a lot better than that, but it's still better than nothing, I think, for the scaling that I could have otherwise had. So I went with that, and also Crown of Eyes, which had a lot of extra damage thanks to an Elegant Hubris over here. Used some crit multi, some spell damage, proj damage, spell damage, crit, proj damage, and spell damage. So that was the largest portion of my damage, and it felt, like a decent bit of work went into damage without enough reward out of it, and the poison scaling would just be much bigger at the end of the day. So we have chains +2 times, and then projectiles chain additional times instead of gaining additional projectiles when you add different projectile modifiers. So we did use volley and GMP for most of the character's existence, but then at some point you do need better damage than just more bounces. So I got rid of GMP, kept volley in, and currently it bounces 8 times. That's with the MTX. You can, see less of the bounce, but without the MTX, you can see the bounces quite a bit better. And you can see they do kind of do random things, but when there's an enemy to target, they'll try and target the enemy instead. So with more proj speed, it will bounce faster, so bear that in mind. If you have slower proj speed, it'll bounce slower, but if you actually spec into proj speed, then it'll bounce pretty damn fast and consume its bounces a lot quicker. which is probably what we'd try if it went cast on crit. So I went Scion so that I could go Sab for the extra damage, and the Blind, and the Pathfinder, so you get good flask sustain, and also Yoinked Slayer so that I'd have more area, and then also the Overleech and the Culling Strike. So all in all, that worked out well enough, I think. We did have some interesting tech that people have been doing, which is Unnatural Instinct over here. They're very cheap at the moment, so lots of good stuff there when combined with a Perandus Pact here, whatever you want to do. I went with Armor because I'm just trying to make Perseverance work. So it does end up giving you quite a lot of extra armor with the Unnatural Instinct. As you can see down that stat sheet, we have 112% armor on top of all of that other stuff that we get from the Unnatural Instinct. So if you put something else there, chaos damage, whatever the hell you want, you can get a lot of value out of this jewel here as well. So these are Forbidden Fleshes for Slayer, and then I had to try and fix up my attack speed a bit, because I had barely any attack speed in this build. So yeah, we've got some armor evasion, we've got some Val Pact stuff, we got crits and proj crits, and projectiles deal 20 damage each time they've chained, so the last hit will hit pretty damn hard, and also a Watcher's Eye just for some Grace Suppress, because I was Suppress capped in the end, and yeah, that's kind of how I tried to build. As you can see, Fury Valve is also kind of free real estate. You get 2 additional proj, which is 2 extra bounces, and the split thing doesn't do anything, so if you want the 2 extra bounces and it's better than whatever else you do in the amulet, then it's kind of worth it. And yeah, that's pretty much the character. I don't think there's anything else to really show that's particularly special. You do still have to care about accuracy, so I had to fix accuracy up. And the links here are Poisonous Conc and Bouncing, Void Manip, Greater Volley, Crit Damage, Damage on Full Life, and Crit Strikes. The only other thing I'll mention that people have been asking is, yes, damage on full life still works if you are over regenning or over leeching through Blood Rage. So at this point, it would not work, but if you have, full life and then you are over leeching and you have just that little bit of degen from Blood Rage, but you're over leeching or over regenning, full damage still does, damage on full life still does work. Yep. So that's it. Poisonous Conc, loved the skill, did not love my attempt at it, but still very fun to play, and can recommend looking at it in other places. Hopefully I have another go as cast on crit and have better results in the future. For now, I'm currently tackling the new Tornado, so hopefully another cool video coming up sometime soon. Thank you very much for watching. See you guys next time.